What is the Fed going to do next? Hello and thank you for watching. Let me start by saying that almost everyone predicted that we would be in a recession by now, right? And as of now, it looks like we actually might pull off that soft landing that the Fed was talking about. But almost all recessions come when you think we're good, okay? 1990 recession. We were coming, if you guys remember, if you guys are even old enough, we were coming off of Reaganomics, right? America was stronger than ever. Then boom, 1990 recession, 1991. Again, in the early 2000s, 2001 recessions. Right before there, we were booming again. Everyone was making money. Actually, this was the first time that you could start a tech company, be in the red, and still get tons of private funding. Life was good. That is until what most of you guys remember, the dot-com bubble. It bursted, right? From there, we headed into a major financial crisis. I believe it took us 8 months to get out of that crisis. Again, recession, 2008. Everyone was making money again, right? So much so that owning more than one home was considered normal. When interest rates went down to 5.25%, mortgage interest rates, I remember, because I was in the business back then, I remember people saying that to pull out money from their 401k and invest it in homes. They were saying that the government is practically giving away money at 5.25% for mortgages. Because remember, the average interest rate's in the high sevens. So everyone was excited, and I was young, very young. So I was like, okay, whatever you guys say. And then out of nowhere, bam, again, we were slammed so hard for the 2008 recession that most of us, or a lot of us, felt like we were going into the 1930s recession. Well, let's call it the Great Depression is what we thought. So what should we expect from the Fed now? As you might know, the jobs report came out last week. Non-farm payroll employment increased by a staggering 339,000 jobs. Estimates predicted only 195,000 jobs, and yet the growth almost doubled what was expected. Not to mention that it's also 29 months. This is 29 months of straight job growth. Unheard of. Now, the Fed has been trying to slow down the job growth, right? That's what they're doing by raising the interest rates, they're trying to slow down job growth. Yet, here we are. Unemployment's still at a pretty low 3.7%, which is lower than what they want. Wages are still up very little. I think it went up less than a tenth of a percent. I don't remember the number, but it hasn't flatlined or gone down. So does that mean that the Fed is going to raise the Fed's fund rate again next week? Well, hold on. The main goal of raising the Fed's funds rate is to slow and hopefully kill inflation. Let's look at the latest CPI numbers. Actually, but before we do that, let's start with some context. In 2001, inflation started to rise, right? If you guys remember, it went as high as 7% in 2001. Then in 2022, it went as high as 9.1% inflation. Today, inflation stands at 4.9%. It's dropped 4 points off of its high from last year. The last time inflation was this high was in the late 70s, early 80s. Get this. In 78, inflation was at 9%. 79, it was at 13.3%. It was 14.8% in the 80s, 11.8% in the 81 and 82, and finally in 83, 3.9%. That's 5 years of horrible inflation. We are currently in the second year of not horrible, but bad inflation, and now it's down to 4.9%. Let's take a look at the chart. All right, you guys can see here that essentially inflation's at 4.9%. Now, obviously, it's gone up. It was month over month. If you guys have been watching my shows, you guys know how to read this, but month over month for April went up 0.4. That's not good. But the 4.9% is very good. Let's take a look at this. Negative 20% energy. Negative 12% for fuel. That's heading in the right direction. Used cars, negative 6.6%. Transportation knows positive 11. That stinks. Shelter 0.81%. That stinks. Those are huge factors when calculating CPI. But let's just remember, right now, 4.9%. That's pretty fast. It's a lot faster than what we were able to do in the 1980s. So that's why a lot of people think that maybe, just maybe, we will have this soft landing, right? And then again, there we go. Bam! Are we going to get hit again? We don't know. So as of now, it looks like the Fed is meeting their goal if you look at inflation. And the worst thing the Fed can do is overdo it with rate hikes. If the Fed overdoes it and the Fed itself puts us into a recession when it wasn't needed, the Monday morning quarterbacks will kill the Fed's credibility, right? So what is the Fed to do next? CPI comes out next Monday. The Fed meets again next Tuesday. They'll put out numbers on Wednesday on what they're going to do. And to be real, this is probably the most important CPI report to come out in months. So what's going to happen? I actually have no idea. I don't know if they're going to raise it, keep it, hold it, nothing. But like always, I will stay tuned, and I'll do it with popcorn in hand. And please remember, life's not meant to be, it's meant to create. Too strong.